President Trump grading himself on his job performance so far. A new survey from High Point University, though, paints a little different picture. 36% of the people surveyed approve of the way Mr. Trump is handling his job as president. A little more than half, 55%, disapprove. Well, Dr. Brandon Lenoir, political science professor at High Point University, again joining us tonight. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. All right, first of all, your thoughts on the poll results.
Well, it shows that the president has a bit of a gap to fill. I mean,
he did win North Carolina.
He did win North Carolina, but with only a 37% approval rating, it's really hard to leverage public support to advance an agenda in Congress.
All right, as a political scientist, what are the key issues you're expecting the president to touch on tonight?
Well, we've already heard a little bit of messaging coming out of the White House, and the fact that they're already talking about some of the issues. Clearly, immigration and border security is going to be on the docket. Increasing the spending on military for with $65 billion, lowering taxes, Obamacare. I mean, all of these are going to be part of it. The challenge that he's going to now have is trying to figure out how he bridges the gap between lowering revenue and raising spending. Are we going to hear the details of that this evening? And that's the big question.
You know, a style question here. I was thinking, you know, he's so used to speaking in front of loving crowds where they're yelling and screaming. This is going to be a much more subdued affair, and probably almost half of the people in there are going to be Democrats, many of whom don't like what he has been doing. How should he approach this speech? I know he's also spent a lot of time slamming the media recently.
He has, and this is an opportunity for him to either pivot and start bridging to other people that aren't already supporting him, or does he double down and continue with the messaging that he's been using up to this point? He has to remember that he has two audiences. He has the people in the room and he has the people at home. The goal for him right now is to try and push forward his legislative agenda and gain enough public support to try and hold the feet of Congress to the fire to get them to advance it through both chambers of Congress.
What are members of Congress hoping to hear, and is that much different from what everyday people at home want to hear?
Well, it definitely is different, because the people at home, and especially it depends on the region of the country.
Right.
I mean, we have different needs in North Carolina compared to, say, Michigan, Oregon, or Arizona. So he's speaking to a much more diverse and broader slice of the population, and he has to really reach out to people and explain how his border policy, his immigration policy, his plans for the military are going to benefit them, and how they aren't going to negatively affect their lives.
Yeah, speaking of big issues, you mentioned immigration, a big issue tonight, health care tonight as well.
Well, it's huge. I mean, he campaigned on repealing and replacing Obamacare.
Yeah.
But at this point, no details have been offered. Tonight, maybe we'll hear some of those details.
A lot of disagreements among Republicans on how exactly to do that in terms of repeal.
Well, it's a challenge. As he even famously was quoted, this health care thing is pretty difficult.
A little more difficult, yes.
You know, so once you dive into the details and trying to legislate an alternative, you have to understand that every change that you make will potentially negatively affect some people, and how are you going to handle all of that? And that's where the details are going to come in.
Dr. Brandon Lenoir, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And remember, you can watch the President's address before a joint session of Congress right here on Fox 8. Our coverage begins at 9 o'clock, followed by the Fox 8.